This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, it is recorded. Okay. I call this meeting to order. Rhonda, call the roll.
Councilman Armstrong,
Here.
Councilman Govern,
Here.
Councilman Rodriguez, absent. Councilwoman Wood,
Here.
Supervisor Seta.
Here.
Let it also be known that Highway Superintendent Walt Guidell, Attorney Carly Wallace, and Reporter Lillian Brown are also present.
Okay, thank you. Moving forward, when we get to resolutions and we vote, when you vote, yes or no, follow that with your last name, please. Okay, everybody get a copy of the minutes for March 9th and April 13th.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve them as submitted.
Second.
Last name?
Oh, Wood.
Armstrong.
Okay, who made the motion?
Kevin.
I did. Armstrong.
Okay, and the second was?
I think Rhonda's close to whatever other device she has because there's reverb.
Okay, who
Is
seconded
that better?
motion?
Wood seconded.
Okay,
Okay.
we have a motion with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Armstrong.
Last
Over.
name? Carried. Okay, did everybody get a copy of the assessor, the code, and the dog control reports? Are there any questions on them?
I'm thinking we should probably buy that camera for the assessor. I know that Rhonda said that we're already buying a computer, but it's only $200 more.
Yeah,
I understand that.
We had just purchased the other camera, and that camera, according to the specs that I have found, is a much better camera than what she's proposing. So I'd like to review it a little bit more before we spend additional money on another camera, because there's nothing wrong with the camera that we had just purchased a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
What's the pixels? I mean, it's not old then?
No.
no, that it's the same camera previous assessor had used. She actually showed me some of the pictures that were taken up from that camera that she puts into her file, and she expressed that she'd like to have them of a better quality. So I'm not sure. I tend to agree with Rhonda. I think we ought to do a little bit more research on that. But of course, it's up to you guys if you want to. That's Penny's request. I didn't make any commitment. I told her we'd discuss it, but.
Well, I didn't realize we had just bought one within the last couple of years, but they change a lot quickly. So, I mean, how many pixels is a big deal, but I don't know what the old camera is.
Yeah.
So can she show us? I assume she's already using one of the cameras like she wants to get from another town. Can she show us examples of how much better the picture is?
Yeah. Let me get some, if you will, let me get some more research done. Rhonda's done a little bit. My recommendation would be to table this for this month. We'll develop some more
Info.
info on it, and then we can bring it up at the June's meeting.
Right. I mean, she seems to be really getting things organized and getting things done. So my impression of her is that she's just trying to make it the best it can be, but I didn't know we had a fairly new camera. I assumed that it was probably an old camera that we've had like forever.
Yeah, it's actually a Nikon camera. It's not a bad camera. Walt, you had a question?
I do. If you do after your deliberation on that, find that it's in order to get her another one, I would not get rid of that one. I would offer that to the highway department to replace the one that doesn't work that they've had. I've used my own personal for quite a few years. Just a suggestion.
Okay,
Well, in
so,
light of that, why don't we just approve getting her one and we'll give that to the highway?
okay, that's a different wrinkle in it. I tend to concur with Walt's request for that. I did not realize the highway department did not have one, or
There
has
is
one, but it's
it's
not working.
old.
So is
It
that a
doesn't-
motion then, Penny?
You get about 6 pictures and you got to recharge the batteries. And I've gotten new batteries and maybe I can get 7 pictures.
But if it's your personal camera you've been using, then obviously that's not gonna be available, so let's just do it.
I'll move it.
Last
Govern.
name? Govern, good.
Second, Wood.
Motion passed, or motion made and seconded to purchase a new camera for the assessor, not to exceed, what was the amount, Rhonda, do you remember?
200.
200.
Yeah, not to exceed 200. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, Kevin Armstrong.
Aye, Wood.
Aye, govern.
Carried. Okay.
And then should it be in that motion that that other camera then goes to the highway department?
I'll add that.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Okay, any other questions on any of the other reports before we get to Walt? Okay, Walt.
I emailed out kind of a lengthy report. Anybody have any questions on that?
Nope.
I see in the, on the agenda, there's a couple of bullet points that need to be done. There was several other things I was hoping for some action, but I guess there won't be any action on that. But it did start, one of the, Kylie did start today, and Dick and Steve were planning on starting them June 1st, as we've done with the mowers in the past. And I see you have a resolution in here, or a motion for appointing that. Also for the summer youth, amending the 284 agreement and an extension on the quarry lease. And I'd probably be looking for some action on those. If you want to do those now,
You want to do them right now?
or we'll
Sure.
wait for the highway
We-
committee to do. It's just as that's in the order that was on the,
Yep, no,
Um,
that's fine. If we can start with the appointment of the 2 seasonal.
And that's Steve and who? Dick?
Richard Doig.
I'll move it.
Need to vote on that?
Who made that motion?
Govern.
I'll make it Armstrong.
Okay, I'll
Okay.
second then, or whichever.
Okay,
We have a motion and a second to approve the hiring of the 2 seasonal workers starting 1 June. Rhonda, what was the,
225 or I'm sorry, 12.25 per hour for 13 weeks, approximately 24 hours per week.
And that's budgeted anyway. That's what we had budgeted.
yes.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye. Wood.
Aye,
Aye,
govern.
Armstrong.
Okay, that motion's carried. Okay.
And then the,
Oh.
yes, and then the next one would be the hire of a summer youth employee, Kylie Wiggins, 11.80 per hour for 13-week period. And that is a summer youth employee. We have not heard back on that, whether that will be reimbursable.
I'll make that motion, Armstrong.
Second, govern.
I just have a question. So we can hire her, but if the program is running through the county, it's reimbursable.
I've had 2 calls in to the youth bureau and sent an email, have not received any information on whether the county is still going to pursue that. My gut feeling is yes, but we haven't got confirmation on that.
So if we hire her and that program doesn't happen, what is that costing the town?
11, how much, 11 something an hour, Rhonda?
Right, but for how,
1180, sorry, 1180, they typically run or work 40 hours a week. And they're saying times 13 weeks. So you're looking at about 6,000 plus benefit,
So Joe,
Social
when do you
Security.
expect to find out from the county?
I called again today. It's the county is on some, shutdown mode still. The essentials are only the ones that are working. Tomorrow I will find out the personal phone number for the point of contact for that and get clarification.
I think we could vote on this and approve her, and we can always cut that off whenever we want, right?
Correct.
If we don't think we're going to get reimbursed. So, if we think it's going to be the full 6,000, we can say, well, 4 weeks into this, we could end it.
If I could say a few words on,
I just hate to do that to Kylie, if that's the summer job she
Right.
takes. And then
Yeah.
we say, oh, well, we're not getting reimbursed, so now you're out. Well,
if I could interject, if you look back for the budget that was approved, what I asked for in there was for one, I thought it was two, but it's 2 to mow, 24 hours a week for 13 weeks, 1 summer, 40 hours a week for 13 weeks. And I know it was more than that, and that's in the improved budget. If there's no youth money reimbursed, it's still, that position is specifically in the budget. When the youth employment historically for the last 20 years or whenever it started on that, we used to get 2, but that is reimbursed for 35 hours a week for 7 weeks. So I just want you aware that it's more hours that we've always done. Sometimes we've only gone with 7 weeks if we found somebody in high school, but if it's a college student, normally a return, we've historically done it for 13 weeks. So even no youth employment reimbursement, the position is fully funded in the budget.
okay.
We still also have the cemetery still looking for a youth worker who we've actually paid through our payroll for the last couple of years as well.
And we
So
have
they
got-
have inquired whether we have received applications for that. We have one application for a employee wanting to come back to that position. And I had indicated to the cemetery that we were still waiting for the youth employment confirmation, whether we were going to get reimbursed for that or not. So they're looking for that second worker as well.
Okay.
Walt, was the second person included in your budget request?
I thought it was, but no, it was not.
Okay. So I think we go ahead and approve the first one, and we'll tell the cemetery they're gonna have to wait until we find out what happens with the program for the other employee. That
works
makes-
for me.
Okay.
Okay, the motion is for the one. There was a
For
motion
Kylie.
and a second.
All right, yeah,
All in favor?
I would.
Aye, Armstrong.
I govern.
Carried. And it will be noted that, well, let's put it this way. Would there be a motion to bring on the second one pending approval of the reimbursement by the county? So we don't have to wait till June to do this.
Do we pay the whole thing, or why is it through our payroll? I guess I'm just confused at that. I don't have a problem with it, I'm just confused.
We get reimbursed, once we submit the voucher to the county, they will reimburse us for those expenses for the youth
Up
employment.
to 35 weeks.
For the whole thing, for the cemetery person?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Walt's got a question again.
Historically, you can wait till the end and reimburse, or every Thursday can send the payroll to the county. and the county will reimburse. There's actually two separate ways. The county will pay the youth weekly, but that means they've got to go to Delhi. Historically, anyway, that we've never done it that way, but that's an option also.
I think my recommendation is we continue the way we've been doing it. Pay them on our payroll and then have Rhonda submit the voucher. Rhonda, when have you done that? At the end of the season?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So
So do you need a motion to accept the cemetery worker if the funding comes through?
That's up to you. I think we have plenty of time though.
Do we need a name to do that?
We do, and June 8th is our next meeting, so I think we have enough time for that yet.
Because they're not
Yeah,
appointed
let's
for
wait,
June
let's
1st.
wait and see.
Because, right, they haven't even done interviews or finished asking for applications.
Okay, then let's hold off on it, I
okay,
think.
then let's table it. Yeah, all right. I thought they needed them as soon as possible. Of course, it snowed the other day. Like Walt said, 3 days in a row. Okay. All right. All right, the amended 284 agreement, that's on the next. Walt, you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, with the budget being passed, what it is all the roads that we plan on sealing to utilize, or plan on utilizing the CHIPS, EWR, and Pave New York money. We did not have that, although there is no, I can't guarantee you that 100% of what we got last year is going to be there. I don't think anybody can. I even contacted the DOT and Linda got back to me today. There's a lot of rumors out there that comes out of the Albany office and she doesn't even know. Well, what that would do is if you amended that, instead of taking part of the, actually, those are the roads that we're gonna resurface, or part of the list of resurfacing this year that we would apply the CHIPS money to. What the amended is the CHIPS money, the emergency winter recovery money that's in the budget, and the Pave New York at that amount. Now, if that was all indication, well, it's there. From what I understand, the governor is gonna take in a couple times through the year, gonna look at revenues, and then might cut up to 10%. If they were to cut 10% of the total of all those from last year, it'd be a little over $30,000. It's about 2 miles of road to do. We're planning on starting to pave tomorrow, and we'd like to go ahead, have all the materials and lined up before the end of the month to get all that sealing done. There's a little bit of a cushion in the budget that even if we did not pay that or get all that 100% of that money, we'd be fine.
And I think with what we have available to us, whether it's in the budget or not, I like the idea of, well, you continue to go. If we don't get that 10%, it's not a deal breaker.
On the other side of that, the reason I asked, I brought it up last month too, because it's my understanding, I don't know, it's supposed to go to the county superintendent, but that 284 agreement, even when you modify, is supposed to be in place before you do the work. We're planning on doing the work and having that all completed by the end of the month before the next meeting. So this is uncharted territory for me, and I think for everybody. I don't know. And I don't know if there's a CHIPS police out there that says, wow, you didn't have that. You can't seek reimbursement for what you did because you didn't approve it. I don't know. I don't know that.
Well, we haven't started yet, and we're going to approve it tonight, right?
Yeah, I'm
That's
gonna
what
make a
I-
motion that we approve it.
I just
I'll
don't
make a
want
motion to
to
approve
false pretense.
Yeah. The motion
Yeah, I'll make a
by
motion to approve it.
Armstrong
Governor,
Armstrong, yep.
and a second by Govern. All in favor?
I would.
Aye, Armstrong.
I govern.
That motion is carried to approve the amended 284 agreement. Thanks, Walt.
And the other thing that I see that's down here is the extension on the quarry lease. Did get that from Joe the other day. I did drop it off to Mark and Carla after, Mark and Gayla, after I signed it and had it notarized where I needed both copies. I did speak with him today. I only dropped it off in his mailbox yesterday. He was in Stamford and wouldn't be able to get that signed. He was good with the whole thing. And I think from the conversation Len and I had, and Kevin, we had what, 2-3 months ago? He was good with it. It's just extending that. I'm not sure if a motion is needed to extend that. I don't think there was any changes in the lease agreement, just that when it expired, extending it for a couple years.
Yes, you would need a motion, you would
Yeah.
need still a resolution to extend it.
I don't
Yeah.
have the document.
Well, here's my recommendation. Carly, correct me if I'm wrong. We can ask for a motion that would approve that extension with our, and help me out here. It would be valid once we receive the signed copy from the landowner.
Oh, that's right. But I think we didn't we?
I think
I
we
thought
already did.
I think
Yeah.
we did this already.
We've been
And it
talking
was,
about it for a while. I'm not sure. And the other
We
thing, is,
didn't-
I don't think it's that critical.
we-
We don't do anything this month, but just make sure it comes back up.
I know we discussed the quarry lease, but I don't know if we actually did the resolution to sign it, because we were
Okay.
further discussing what the actual end date of it should be. So within this correction, the extension to quarry lease agreement, thus terminating on October 1, 2022.
Why don't we just wait until next meeting? Like Walt said, there's no rush. We'll wait till he signs it and then we'll vote on it next meeting.
Okay, yeah,
And in conversation with him, I'm thinking more now that if it didn't work out that way, that we couldn't get all the material then, he might even be willing to go a little bit. Or might be willing to extend it a little bit more. Can't guarantee that, but that's just a feeling, a gut feeling that I got for the conversation today.
yeah, both Mark and Gail have been very favorable over the years for that, so I don't anticipate.
Yeah,
But
helps him pay his taxes too.
I concur with Kevin, and Walt, if it isn't, a pressing issue, it can wait for another month.
Well, every year for the past several years, come the end of the year, I always I've been given a year in review. And I thought, seeing how this one kind of got, I can't say a year in review, but I've got years in review. Actually, I'm calling it a then and a now. And if I could have a few minutes here, I'd like to go through with how I've seen.
What I got, Walt?
Yeah, that. I think it goes down the last 5 or 6 years. And this is what this one looks like. Now, I could make it fluff. I got plenty of time. But as we go back, the then and now is what I call it. Then I felt that the highway department was taken for granted. Now, sometimes I still think the highway department is taken for granted. But then the highway department needed additional funding for everything. Now I think that the highway department needs additional funding for another employee. Back then, there was a DB bond note, and I believe it was for the DR 1095, which was the 96 flood, the January, or else for the building, but that did come out of the DB, which makes me think it was for the 1095 event. It was the payment was with interest was $87,000 per year on the bond that was being paid off. To now, I think we have what I would call as a healthy reserves and no debt. Then we had 10 full-time employees. Now there's 9 full-time employees. Then the mechanic made $14.84 an hour. Today, the mechanic gets paid $21.44. An HEO was $14.60. Today, an HEO is $20.95. An MEO was $14.23. Today, $20.37. Back then, we used to have as many as 6 Summer help, 40 hours a week for 13 weeks. Today we get 2 temporary for 24 hours a week for 13 weeks, and 1 summer youth 40 hours a week for 13 weeks. Then we had approximately 40 miles of dirt road. Now we have approximately 3 miles of dirt road, and the majority of that is seasonal. Then we needed 8,000 yards of abrasives we needed for the winter. Today we use about 3,000 or 4,000 yards of abrasives for winter. Then it used to take a full crew all day to plow and sand roads. Now it takes about 3 hours of full crew to plow and sand all roads. Sand was $4.75 a yard. Today it's $10.23 a yard. Gravel $5.75 a yard. Gravel today is $7.58 a yard. Salt was $30.81 a ton delivered. Salt now is $72.21 a yard delivered. Back then it cost approximately $7,500 a mile to seal a mile of road. Today it costs about $14,000 to do the same. Then a new plow dump truck cost about $150,000. Today it's a little over $275,000. Back then the backhoe was $57,000. Today it's $95,000. Tractor with a boom mower was $59,000. Now it's about $100,000. 2 men worked all summer replacing failed sluice pipes. Now we replace 3 or 4 a year. That takes maybe 3 or 4 days. 3 men used to spend about half the summer working dirt roads. Now we spend 2 or 3 days doing it. I never dreamed or heard of a stream project. Now it keeps me awake at night. Trucks and vehicles used to hit branches when passing on the roads. Now mostly the brush is cut back so that it doesn't get hit even when you're cleaning ditches. We had many narrow 1-lane roads. Most roads now are 2-lane. We had budgeted $15,000 for the garage and utilities. Now we're budgeting $15,000 for the garage and utilities. Except this year there was paying off the changing the lighting down there. It's like $4,700 or $4,800 more. I believe that's for 2 years. Then we had an old and tired fleet. Now the fleet is updated, but it's still aging. Then the supervisor was Joe Hanley. Today is Joe Setta. The town clerk then was Ted Pilata, Rhonda Williams today. The town board was Kevin Armstrong, Steve Hodge, Bill Bartlett, and Bruce Dolph. Today it's Kevin, Len, Patty, and Dr. Rod in spirit, at least here at our meeting. Sam Swart and Carl Gregory were the judges. Carl Gregory's still a judge. Bob Larson and Luke Lorenz were assessors. Penny is our assessor now. Don McLennan, I believe, was a code enforcement officer. Steve Ducky is now. Then we used to order the stone in the spring for sealing roads. Now we stockpile it in the fall in advance to get a cheaper price. 2 men used to spend all summer crushing gravel. Now we have a stockpile of crushed gravel. 3 trucks used to haul sand for weeks to the stockpile. Now we process it and there's no hauling. Also, I went and looked on the website for the town, and the budget goes back to 2006. So I did a little bit of then and now on that too. The total budget to operate the town for this is the money raised by taxes, was $1,183,917. This year it's $1,278,000 and change. It's about $105,000 more, or about an 8% increase. Probably not too bad. And the general account in 2006 was $212,516. Today it's $292,436. Like I say, this is the amount of money raised by taxes. That shows about a 37.6% increase. In the B account, the B fund in 2006 was 36,733. Today it's 75,866, which is about $39,000 more, or 106.3%. The highway department that year, the combined, this is including the A, or the general fund, which has the highway superintendent's wages, the deputy, and to run the garage, the utilities and that was $988,220. And some of the years after that, we're up $1,000,001. It has been higher, but in 2020, the amount raised by taxes was $989,061, which is $841 more than 15 years ago, which figures out to a 0.085%. If the highway department budget was kept at the 8%, it would be $78,315 more. That's more than enough for another employee, which I asked for and was told by the highway committee, maybe we'll think about that in the fall. I don't think that really helps out this year. We've got 12 stream projects that FEMA's hopefully will reimburse us for. I don't think it'll take, we have the equipment to do most of it. We have the crew that can do that. Rock is pretty cheap around here for we can get that. What we lack is employees. The other thing that I saw is since 2000, we've had 23 declared events. Not all of them snow. Some of them were, one was for the power outage. Remember Fair Week quite a few years ago. It's been quite an eventful 20 years of my life. I wouldn't change the world. We've gone through some good times and some bad times. But I guess in the closing remarks, I really would like you to try to consider helping out the highway department by getting another employee. We seem to have been able to get the materials and get the roads changed around without a big thing. Big increase in taxes. We've been able to get the fleet, upgrade that with very little impact to taxes. What I don't have is I haven't figured out how to whittle another man out of that. And as I reflect a little bit, and maybe Joe, you can help me here a little bit. I looked at the county, what the county DPW has for maintenance. They have 260 miles of road that they keep track of. And there's about 70 people that are in the maintenance end of that. Is that a fair statement, Joe?
Give or take, yes.
Well, that's at 260 lane miles, or not, excuse me, center line miles. I know that for a fact, and about 70, that means about 3.7 miles for an employee. Walton, we have 7 employees that get there and about 100 miles of road. That's about 14 miles per employee. And with the pandemic, with the 1,000 hours that were on there, and in the last year, the 48 months, I say a year, if you take and make that there's only 6 employees, that's about 17 miles for each employee. The county, just for the maintenance, this isn't the bridge crew, this isn't their engineering, this isn't the office staff. I believe this is just the ones that are out working on the road. It's about less than 4 miles. There's a big disparity. Now, we don't keep the roads the same as the county does, but I'd like to give you something to think about anyway, in my closing statement.
Well, your statements are very valid. Thank you for all that. What I would charge Kevin and Lynn is to take them comments, and if we can develop a plan where it fits into our budget for next year, starting from now until we actually approve a budget, look at that. The number of employees per mile, and you compare them to the county, it is kind of like comparing apples and oranges, but it's still, it is relatively close. So Kevin and Len, take that under your wing and see somehow what we can do within the highway department to facilitate that. I'm not giving you a go, or I'm not saying I'm for or against it, but let's just take a good look at what those comments that Walt just made with the employee especially. So more to follow. Let's not put it on the back burner. Let's keep it, in a discussion each month. Not particularly here, but in your highway.
Highway committee, yeah.
Well, and as I mentioned before, there's 12 stream projects. We have gotten an extension from FEMA to do that. We haven't, not all of them been obligated. What's been obligated and that what we have received money for, the reimbursement is close to what we have invested in that Woodlawn project. You know, the soil nails to get that. I think a minimal amount of, yes, a lot of labor to get those stream projects done, or they're not all stream projects, but get the projects that are hopefully will be obligated. If we get those done that and get reimbursed for those and get them obligated, that's about $300,000 where there'll be a small monetary investment other than labor time and run of our equipment, which we already own in that. We're under a time frame to get that done. We did get an extension. We've asked for one extension already, even though they haven't been obligated. It doesn't have to be all of them done this year, but it needs to be done by the fall of next year, or you're into maybe asking for another extension. I don't know whether you'll get that on that, or you can, if they do get obligated, you have to certify that they're done. You could certify that they're not done and give them back the money. But I think it's an easy $300,000 that they're all put in for prevailing wage to get those done. You could see your way clear to help them out and get another employee started this year. I know there's a couple that are going to be retiring in the next couple years, go back, but I think it's important, but I'll leave that in your hands.
Paul, do you have a copy of your report that you just gave us that you can forward to us?
Yeah, I've got some hand scribbled notes. Let me work on it and I'll get
Okay.
what I said here at the end. No, I don't.
Okay, no, basically what you said before there. So just if you could
I
get
mean,
something
the
wrote
then
up,
and
forward that to us.
then and now, yeah, that I do.
Yeah.
And then it's hand
Yep.
scribbled in here, like of what the county and what we have, but I can make that into something. I can email it all to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Walt, thank you very much for that. Moving on, let's, Rhonda?
Okay, everybody can still hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, you should all have copies of the financial reports. I have collected 90% of the tax warrant. I'm returning 317 unpaid bills in the amount of $416,842.92 to the Delaware County Treasurer for collection. We had 40.
Normal, Rhonda.
That is, our 90% is right about normal for the last couple of years.
That's still the same? That's 90%?
Yep. The tax amount fluctuates a little bit. The number of bills that we're returning is a little bit less than previous years.
Take advantage of not getting charged for the April interest and paid?
Well, that's what I was going on to say. We had 43 partial payments, 43 tax bills that, or people that participated in the partial payments. Of those 43, 5 taxpayers did not pay their second payment at the time that we stopped collecting on April 30th. And I think overall this was a well-received and positive approach, but I think due to COVID-19, it may have prevented some of them from making their second payment, because looking back through them, they are not typically people that are late to begin with. So I think COVID did have something to do with that. But of the 43 payments, only 5 did not make their second payment that will go back to the county treasurer. And with keeping within the governor's executive orders, you probably have already heard that the Democratic primary will be held on June 23rd. And it's my understanding that it'll be done by absentee ballot, but I actually just heard today that we will have to open our polling sites and try to do distance social distancing. I'm not quite sure how that's going to take place. It is being conducted at the school for our voting place. I don't know what's going to happen with that. But that'll have to be worked out with the Board of Elections.
Isn't there a
We will,
Republican primary too?
yes. Yeah, so we will be going down on the number of election inspectors that they normally have. We typically have 20. Now they're recommending only 6 to 8 of them because they anticipate a lot more people returning their absentee ballots versus coming to the polling place. So it's, like Walt said earlier, it's uncharted territory, and this is certainly going to be interesting to see how this pans out. But and speaking of COVID-19, we started taking protective measures here at the town hall. Once we get ready to reopen to the public again, we have installed a plexiglass over my counter, and we are in the process of ordering hand sanitizer. So we will have a dispenser for people that are coming or going, and we also have hand sanitizer for the employees as well. We were given face masks by Nimer, our insurance company. We received about 50 of them from Nimer, and we also today received in the mail, I think it was approximately 30 masks, and that was from NBT Insurance. And then we also ordered 2 boxes that they are unbelievable, hard to get, and they're very expensive now. And hand sanitizer to this day, Walt's been trying to get it through his vendors. I've been trying to get it, and we still can't get hand sanitizer.
Yeah, Rhonda, just make clarification. You didn't just start to order that hand sanitizer. You ordered that a long time ago, right?
I ordered it when the executive order came out that they stated that they
Yeah.
were closing the building. And each company that I had gone through, I received follow-up email confirmation saying that it's been back ordered, or you can only, a lot of it is only being sold to the medical field. So we're not even entitled to it at this time. They've canceled my order completely.
Rhonda,
Watson,
we have cases of hand sanitizer. We just got in. So if they want to, call down there through the highway department, I can direct them to it. One of our suppliers that does oil products, just Lucas Oil, just started selling hand sanitizer. And last I knew, as of last week, we had cases of big bottles of it. So
Wow.
it is available. So
there is a local girl, Mandy Watson, who makes her own hand sanitizer. It's a bottle like this for $4, but that's not a bad price these days. I've seen it more. So if we needed it to open, that can be sourced locally. I mean, I wouldn't do that forever, but on a short-term basis,
we have like gallon jugs of it.
Get it.
Yeah, they're like $16 or something like that. So it's really good price on it.
Wow, that would be great, Kevin. I'll see if somebody can order us some for that.
Yeah, if I think of it, I'll call you tomorrow and tell you the exact size and pricing on it. So
Okay. And then also, at the time that the executive orders had started and we had closed our lobby and building to the public, we did not have a mail slot. So I have ordered a mail slot. It should be here tomorrow or Wednesday. And Steve Dutcher, our code enforcement officer, has agreed to install that. And that way, it's a self-containing mail slot. So if anybody puts anything that should not be in it, it will be contained within this mail slot. And that way we don't have to worry about another fire. How, years ago, I don't know if you remember, but they had thrown it in the door, a lit paper on fire. So we got rid of our old mail slot.
And that's going on the front door or next to the front door?
Yes, it'll go to the, if you're looking at the front door, it'll go to the left of the front door.
Okay.
And I believe that is all I have.
I have a question for Walt that I don't know if this is when I should ask it, but this is what I'm going to ask it, I guess. Did we close the break room in the the town garage? And are there wipes down there for them to be wiping down and whatever?
I don't think there's any alcohol wipes left anymore, but there was the bottle of Clorox type disinfectant that was there. We have plenty of paper towels. I only go in there on Sundays. In my daily, when I talk with them down there, I don't as much, but I leave them a list. I think it's called What's New right now. I think we're into week number 6 of that. And the first thing is to keep the social distancing. We did have a training on that, I believe, where they all signed that they did have that. To my knowledge, the break room is not closed. To my
I thought we
knowledge,
were posting a sign on the break room that said it was closed.
no, not
That's
that
what we were supposed to be doing from the last meeting.
I don't remember hearing that.
You might not have been in that meeting, but
The other
I
thing that I did tell them is don't all take a break at the same time. When you have lunch, keep segregated. I'd like to think they're doing that, but I personally cannot guarantee that 'cause I don't see it.
Carly,
And I
didn't you
don't, I
say
don't
that we
see it
needed to
happening,
post
and
it?
I don't see it not happening.
Yeah, last meeting we had discussed posting a sign near the break room to maintain the social distancing. I don't know if we said that it was closed though. I don't know if we said the break room was closed, just that they need to maintain the social distancing even in the break room.
So is
Right,
there
yeah,
a
I
sign
don't
that
remember
says that?
saying closed either, other than I'm talking to Mike the other day when he was in, and Andy before that. I reiterated that, because you have to go into the break room to get into the office,
And to the time clock.
and the time clock, yeah. So we can't close it, but I did reiterate to them the social distancing while in that break room. You can't have the full crew in the break room. You have to wear your masks when you're in the trucks, and especially, well, if 2
I
people are
thought
in
there
the
was
truck.
only one to a truck.
What's that?
I thought there was only one to a truck. I thought there was only one person in a truck right now.
I
That's what,
can't guarantee that happens because if they're taking somebody out to move a piece of equipment,
Right.
you gotta,
right, and
And
that's
for the
what,
second person, they have to wear a mask.
both of
they
them
all
would.
have masks. There's more masks sitting right by the time clock. When I was in there Sunday, they were still there.
Okay, but we talked about that we needed it posted because that covered us.
That's the first I heard of it.
Joe, I thought you were going to take a sign now.
Yep. All right, I will, yeah, my apologies, I failed to put that down there, but I'll go down and talk to Mike and get a sign that says exactly what we just talked about.
I mean, it's good that it's
so much
good.
we can do.
Sorry, Patty.
I'm sorry, Carly.
No, I was going to say it's good that we have something from the highway guys saying that they've, they're acknowledging that they know these new regulations, that they know that they have to keep social distancing. I think Walt said that they signed like a training pamphlet. Was that right, Walt?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Cornell Local Roads put out a COVID-19. This was like week 1, week 2,
Okay.
something, and I know that it hangs on the bulletin board. I did not read the whole thing. I was not there for that. I did not read the whole word for word on that, but they're aware of it.
They signed it or they're just aware of it?
There is a sign sheet, a sign-in sheet, or an acknowledgement. They signed it that they've read it and understand it.
Okay.
Okay.
I have that document.
Okay. We still should put a sign there just as a reminder. Good to see it every day.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Then are they working in 2-man crews, Walt, or not always?
I'm gonna say not always. When you're out brooming, it was just one. When they're going a piece of equipment, you've been actually patching roads. And what that is one dump truck, one in the grader, one in the roller. And when they've gone out and done filled potholes, Jim's been by himself. Has that happened 100%? Again, I'm not there every minute. I can't guarantee it. But when I've been out checking roads and run across them, It's been one in a truck. And that's not like I see everybody that's out there. But if they're going with a piece of equipment, one takes a piece of equipment, the other one takes a pickup. To my knowledge, and I cannot guarantee you 100% on any of that. Even when I'm there the full time, I can't guarantee you when you got 2 or 3 different projects going, I can't guarantee what they're all doing. They're all cognizant of it. I know that in the conversations that I've had with them. I know they know it's there. How well they're.
Our concern was that like the same people were working together so that if one of them ended up positive, only the 2 would end up being quarantined instead of today he goes to this one and tomorrow he goes with that one, whatever, and that the whole crew.
Historically, the crews have stayed pretty much over the years. I'm thinking they're gonna continue doing that. Historically, if it's 2 people on a job, it's usually the same 2 work together.
Okay.
If that person is not there that day, it's probably changed.
I think just, I don't know when these regulations are gonna thing, but I mean, you're talking about we're already 1,000 hours down. If they are all intermingling and working in different things, we could have the whole crew out on quarantine for 2 weeks.
Very true. Yep. And that has happened some.
And
So,
that
but
has
that's what we're trying
happened.
to avoid.
If I can just chime in, Patty, what you're talking about, I attended a Zoom meeting through the New York State Town Clerks Association with a Senator Sean Ryan, and he spoke of a township out western New York that lost their entire highway crew because they were not social distancing. He didn't go elaborate as to how large the crew was, but they are shut down for 2 weeks right now. And they actually had to shut down roads because they were not able to maintain the roads when they had a storm. So it very well could happen.
But
I
I mean,
think-
you also have to follow the quarantine rules that the county sets. Like, I guess Jeff went home to quarantine because you didn't know what their actual rules were, but he didn't need to quarantine for a second-hand exposure, is my
Nobody
understanding.
felt it was, and I concurred I told him to go home because I didn't want to take, he was probably a week and a half before he even found out that he was exposed to someone who might have been exposed. And it turned out to be nothing, which is thankful. And nobody has, like I say, everybody's healthy and it's thick. And I don't know how many times I've told him, if you feel or you know of it, tell me. That's the first thing on my bullet points that are out there. If you have any inkling of that, let me know immediately. We want a distance.
But he understands that too. I mean, if he's going to be taking over this, he understands that a secondhand exposure is not something to stay home and quarantine under.
Probably right now, the direction, because of the direction I had, he will probably say, go home.
I think we need to change that, is what I'm saying.
That's because that's the direction that we have now. Things have changed and we haven't had that. And I think that would be pretty simple.
How long did he quarantine for, Jeff?
I'm thinking he said he was on the 9th and whatever date that was. I think then it turned into his weekend. I think it was 2 days. And then in the last week that that were on the half and half, was like partway through the 2 weeks would have been. He probably lost a couple extra days, couple more days.
Well, I mean, I know you were doing that on the side of caution, but like I was saying, like when Eric and Tiffany were quarantined because of exposure to us, she is a essential worker, so she still had to work, and she had to come home and quarantine, which does not make a lot of sense to me, but that's how it works with the people that work in the hospital. So his girlfriend, having worked in the hospital, but she was gowned and masked, that wouldn't make him have to quarantine unless he had direct contact with a
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a hold of Department of Health. I had a number of calls to them. I will get from them, based on the current situation with COVID-19, the requirements for quarantine.
Well,
And
they should call them. I mean, they should call who they are actually in contact with. That's why they didn't call any of you guys, is because I didn't actually test positive. That's why you guys didn't get a call with the town. But it was also within the 2 weeks. They go back 2 weeks from the time that you test positive. But they only called Woody's contacts, not mine.
And I don't believe Jeff's exposure to the individual did not test positive, I don't believe, but and that individual worked in the hospital setting and went to work and wasn't supposed to go anyplace else except work. He was allowed to go to, which sounds very similar to what you were saying. And that was purely precaution.
okay, we'll get the guidance from the Department of Health and
I just think it's important because there's going to be this switch here, and this is all new. I mean, we're all doing this
Here. This is the new normal, I guess.
right. Well, that's the thing. So I think we need the guidance that we actually have to follow to tell Jeff too. You know,
Don't take my guidance on it because I'm not in authority on it.
yeah, especially
think
since
I'd like
Jeff was the one that was in the middle of this, and we might have to use that going forward. I just think we need to firm it up. Is all I'm saying.
exactly, yeah, and I'll follow through with that with Department of Health.
Who do I ask about? Where is Steve Dutcher? How come he's not in on this?
He had to take today and tomorrow off for personal reasons.
Okay. I had a couple of questions, but I can do that at the end. I don't want to be in the middle of it though, because they're really more Steve Dutcher questions.
Okay, Rhonda, you're concluded with your report?
Yes.
Okay. If you notice the first bullet on my report, can I turn that over to Kevin and Lynn?
Oh, on highway superintendent?
Yes.
Okay, Len, Walt and I met with Jeff Offnick, our current mechanic, who expressed an interest in filling that position. We talked to him. Our last highway meeting, he also sat in on that, and we think he'd be a good fit. He's very familiar with how Walt's run it, and Walt, I think, has been agreeable to help Jeff out if he has questions. So with that in mind, I'm going to make a motion that we appoint Jeff Offnick highway superintendent from, I believe it would be May 30th. Walt, your last day is the 29th, is it? Or the 28th?
29th.
29th. So appoint Jeff highway superintendent from May 30th, 2020 to December 31st, 2020. And he knows he'll have to run for election. He is well aware of that. He'll have to run this year and then I believe next year also. So I'm going to make that motion.
Can the motion stay to December 30th if the election is before then?
Excuse me?
That's the primary. June is the primary. He would not be in the primary.
The election he has to run is in November, right?
Right, but the winner of the election does not start until January 1.
Gotcha. Okay. I was questioning the dates because of the election.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And Len, you seconded that?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Armstrong and a second by Councilman Govern to appoint Jeff Offnick as the highway superintendent. All in favor?
Aye, Kevin Armstrong.
Aye, Govern.
I would.
That motion is carried.
I would also suggest that we have to start advertising for a mechanic now too, that we put out an ad for a mechanic.
Okay. In front of me, keeping in with what we just did, I have a letter. It says, "Dear Mr. Setta, please accept this resignation as my formal resignation from my current position as the mechanic for the Town of Walton Highway Department, effective May 30th. Sincerely, Jeff Offnick." Do I have a motion and a second to accept his resignation?
I'll make that motion, Armstrong.
I'll second it, Govern.
Motion made and seconded for the resignation of Jeff as the highway mechanic. All in favor?
Aye, Armstrong.
Aye, Govern.
Does he understand that if he doesn't get elected, he doesn't have a job?
He does understand that.
Okay. I would.
That motion is carried. Okay. I was approached by the mayor. You should have this in front of you. You came in with the packet. Is the Walton Police Department is interested in pursuing working with the Delaware County Sheriff's Department to go under a lease agreement for their police cars. I don't have the specifics on the numbers. I didn't get into that too much with the mayor. But according to the mayor, it is very favorable for the taxpayers of the village for them to pursue a agreement through the Delaware County Sheriff's Office to lease vehicles. I was requested to do a letter of support, which you should have in front of you. I'd like authorization to sign this and forward it back to the mayor so he can get it to the Sheriff's Department.
That doesn't involve any money for us? It's just a
No,
support?
all it is a letter of support.
I'm good with it. Would.
I'll second it, Armstrong.
Motion's made and carried. All in favor? Or excuse me,
Aye.
motion made and seconded. All in
Yep.
favor?
Armstrong, yes.
Would,
Govern.
yes.
Okay, motion is carried. Thank you. I'll get this, I'll sign this and get it to the mayor tomorrow. Excuse me, tomorrow morning. Okay. For a while now, Penny has inquired me about the purchase of a laptop for the town's use. In discussion with Rhonda and what assets Penny has available, I think it would help her enhance her ability to function as our assessor. What was the not to exceed on that, Rhonda?
1,200. It came in much less than that, but I don't know how much the antivirus is going to cost to put on that. So I think the quote came in from ISD for $799 plus the antivirus. So I put in the resolution because we don't have a case for it, and I think it's would be beneficial to purchase a case as well for her to transport that. So not to exceed 1,200, and she does have that in her budget.
Okay. You might need to move it?
If you'd like to, yes.
Move it. Would.
Second? Anybody second?
I'll second it, Armstrong.
Motion made and seconded to purchase the laptop not to exceed $1,200 and all the accessories. All in favor?
Aye, Armstrong.
Aye, Govern.
would.
That motion is carried. Okay. In front of me, I just want to read something from the New York State Town Clerks Association. And it's addressed Honorable Joseph Setta, Supervisor. I had to throw that in there. Dear Supervisor Setta, on behalf of the New York State Town Clerks Association, it is my honor and pleasure to inform you that Rhonda Williams, Town Clerk, has been awarded this association's recertification as a registered municipal clerk. This prestigious award recognizes the professional competency of Ms. Williams in fulfilling the responsibility of her office. Certification is granted only after an applicant has demonstrated that they have met the stringent education and experience requirements established by New York State Town Clerks Association. We are very pleased to have Rhonda as a member of our association and deeply appreciate your encouragement of her involvement with the association and the Registered Municipal Clerk program. It reflects your understanding of the purpose of our association and your commitment to professional growth and development. So I'd like to congratulate Rhonda for receiving this. And of course, I'm sure we all totally concur that this award is, or this certification and certificate is greatly rewarded to her. So I just wanted to read that on Rhonda's behalf. So Rhonda, thank you. Keep up the good work.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Two quick things. Walter A. Geidel. I have in front of me a certificate of recognition. How do I get that up there? Yeah. All right. This honor is bestowed upon Walter A. Geidel in recognition for your 20 years of dedicated service as Town of Walton Highway Superintendent, and is awarded this certificate by the Town of Walton on this 11th day of May 2020. We will get this. We will get this framed for you in a better copy than this. Get that to you as soon as we can. Also on that, we're gonna. I know it's hard to see, but we're gonna actually, in the process of having the plaque made, so you can hang it on the wall right behind you. You got a nice bare wall where the flag is hanging.
By your flag.
Yeah, that this would be fitting for. And it says, Walter A. Geidel, the Town of Walton would like to thank you for your 20 years of leadership, dedication, and loyalty, and honor you on your well-deserved retirement. Your leadership and ability to smell money has provided the Town of Walton with an undeniably strong infrastructure and superior roads on a foundation that will provide safe conditions for residents for years to come. You have also saved the town immeasurable amounts of money every year, but especially getting us back after the floods. May you now enjoy your leisurely travels upon them. Congratulations, May 2020. So as soon as we get that plaque, we'll get with you and we'll award you both those certificates and plaque. And as a note to Walt, in any conversation I have with others about the accomplishments and particularly the money that the Town of Walton residents have saved through your efforts has always been favorable. Not once have I heard anything negative on how you've managed the highway department, how you brought us through these floods, and just your overall leadership to that department. And I, for one, just sitting in this position for the last year and a half, greatly appreciate your efforts. And I, for one, as a taxpayer in this community, deeply appreciate those efforts. It's not easy sitting in a highway superintendent's position. I can personally say that, and your perseverance and your dedication to your job is unbecoming of a lot of people. Not many people can do that, but you have again persevered, and on behalf of the people of the Town of Walton, I want to say thank you and good luck in your retirement.
Joe, thank you for the kind word. And also, I thought I was all done talking, but I guess I can't. But maybe I steered the ship on some of that. But you don't do things, or just one person can't do that. I've said this for years. We're all a team. We're all in this together. You can fight, you can bicker. And I know the highway committee, we have not always seen eye to eye we have raised our voices. We have agreed to disagree, but we've always, I think the whole team has always gone on for what's in the best interest of the taxpayers. You know, sometimes you gotta sit back and think, you know, how can we make things better for the taxpayers? I pay taxes just as much. I've also been thankful that, or been blessed with a good crew. They could always be better, so can I, so can everybody else, but it's not one person doesn't make the whole thing. It's a team effort. And as I said in my resignation letter, it's been a team effort. It's the people you work with that's what makes it. It's going to be there'll be a big hole, a big change from used to getting up. One thing I won't miss is getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning and going out and seeing how much snow there is. But I think you're leaving it in capable hands. And when I do that, I feel a little bad that I'm not there. Jeff knows what's going on there. The paperwork and what have you, it's going to take a little bit more than just till the end of the month. I will spend as much time, I guess, within reason, to get him on the right track. The stuff is there. It's what I called it. There's always more records that can be, but I think he's got a good handle on what's going on. He at least has been there. He's been mechanic almost 19 years, so he's been around it for a while. When I started 20 years ago, I'd never been in the highway department. The only thing I knew about is what I learned in college, even though it was only associate's degree, I shouldn't say only, but it was in civil technologies and highway design. So I had a background in that and my years of management. And I think emergency services too got me a lot of the leadership in there and being into that, how to deal with emergencies. And I guess I'll leave it at that.
Well, thank you, Walt. You it might have been a team effort, but you are the one who could smell the money and you went after it and you doggedly went after it. So you deserve more credit than you're taking for yourself, though it's very nice to hear you talk about your team. And you're the most popular of all of us. You always get the most votes.
Yeah. Thank you. And actually, probably I could spell the money and go after it more on a necessity because and I won't get into it. I'll just try.
Well, the difference that I see between the town and the village of Walton after the floods is Walt Geidel.
Okay, thank you again. Okay, county update. Did everybody receive a copy of the Southern Tier Region Plan that I emailed to you?
Yes.
Okay, I know Patty has reviewed that and she has sent me an email with some questions. Please take a little bit of time and review this. And if you have questions, send me an email because as soon as I got those emails, I called Department of Health. Unfortunately, Mandy or Heather were not available today, so I couldn't get the answers. But I'll put those questions in an email to Mandy and get them answered as soon as possible. All right.
I was glad to see they had enough tracers because that was my first question that I hadn't heard back from, but I see now that they have enough tracers. That's good.
Yeah, and just, based on what the governor has stated, this is, this is a try. We're going to open up on the 15th for phase 1. And let me just reiterate what's under phase 1: construction, manufacturing, and wholesale supply chain. Select retail using curbside pickup only. So that's phase 1. And I believe they're targeting, don't quote me on this, but I think they're targeting, depending on the numbers of, positive results through the whole county, they're looking at a 2-week time frame between phase 1 and phase 2. But don't quote me on that. That's just what I heard in conversation with someone else. But please read this reopening plan. Rhonda's going to put this on our website because I looked earlier. There's no link to it on the county's website. So she'll put that on our website also.
I have
'Cause I've
another
had questions from people already. One question I've been trying to get for the last 2 weeks. I sent an email to Senator Metzger's office requesting clarification on the phases. What does religious services, what phase does that fall under? There's no identifying area under any of the phases that identify religious services. So I sent 2 emails and I called once, still waiting on clarification from that. So they may not be getting that clarification from the state through Senator Metzger's office, but I'm hoping that that clarification will come soon, because I've had 6 or 7 people ask me about that. So
Do you know when it says phase 2 administrative personnel? Does that mean that Rhonda, you would be opening back up daily?
I will be honest with you, I don't know, because I did not have a chance to read it because the supervisor kept me busy with minutes. So I will have to go through it and see what category I fall under.
I actually had a note when, if you guys send me an email tomorrow with your questions, I have that note to question what do municipalities fall under. I'm thinking it is professional services, but until we get clarification, we're gonna go with the way we're still operating.
But just to clarify, I am here. I'm just not open to the public.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So at the very least, if we can open up the lobby where they may need more forms, but we have put everything that we offer on our website. The only thing that I'm not able to do is virtual weddings because I don't have that capability yet. And most towns do not in our area. The larger townships or the cities may, but we just don't have the capability to be confident that they are who they say they are and get the documentation in a timely manner, and then to be able to issue the marriage license virtually. Maybe when we get the new laptop, that will be easier to use, but I certainly don't want to put any of that personal information of theirs on my own laptop.
Right. No, I don't blame you.
Okay.
But Joe, I'm interested in hearing about the religious too, and think if you do another PSA, you should mention that you're looking into that, because I think that a lot of people are looking for that, so they should know that you're on it.
Yeah, I will. Speaking of that, did everybody get a chance to look at the second video public service announcement that I did?
You mean the one where they said you should be mayor? Yeah, we saw that. I'm sure you told Steve about it too.
Yeah. Behavioral health clinic, I mentioned last month that hopefully by the end of May, we're gonna see some movement down there. I didn't hear from the committee chair on anything more specific.
For what is it? I didn't hear the beginning.
The behavioral health clinic.
Gotcha. Thank you.
When they're going to start. We have our board of supervisors meeting Wednesday. I'll ask for clarification from the committee chair, or I can give him a call tomorrow before the meeting, and then I'll send you guys a text if there's any changes to the end of May, first part of June, of when you'll see movement down there. So I'm excited about this. It's going to, again, this will, it's a needed facility in our community, and I'm glad that it's here, or it will be here. The boat launch. We're hoping that the boat launch will start. It's been awarded, and the actual first part of the concrete has been cast. So there's big sections of concrete that are in forms that have already been placed in those forms, and those are the ones that are going to be under the water. And that should start first week in June, second week in June sometime. So if there's any change to that, I'll let you guys know. But spoke with Graydon today, and he's excited about that. It actually came in a little under what the engineer's estimate cost was for that, 50 some odd. I can't remember exactly how much it was, but that'll be exciting also. Okay, does committees have any further reports they want to address?
Didn't you put in for a grant today for the AARP for that space?
Speaking of the AARP grant, I spoke to Dottie Crupo, and she's got the application complete. We spent a couple hours on that last Friday, and you know, I can't thank Dottie enough for taking the lead on filling that application out. Again, the village is the lead agency on that, so the mayor will sign that grant application. But thank you, Patty, for bringing that up. That's exciting. Got a good feeling, but if we can get some of that money for the trail down on Water Street, that will be great. And you know, kudos to Dottie for taking the lead on that. So, anything else? Well, let me inject this real quick. Speaking with Len Rutherford, the Legion and the VFW do plan on doing something for Memorial Day, and I said, I'm going to do something whether anybody does it or not. If I have to stand on Veterans Plaza and just salute the flag, that's what I'm going to do. But they're developing a plan, very simple. It's not going to be a parade. It'll just be like a ceremony at the cemetery. So when they get that completed, I'll let you guys know. And it'll be advertised as you must maintain social distancing and all that stuff. But you know, it'll be a very short ceremony, but it is Memorial Day, and I'm going to say a few words. But so more to follow on that too.
You guys should know too that I'm trying to arrange a class of 2020 cruise caravan that the kids would decorate their own vehicle, line up at the bus garage. No, I'm sorry, at the fairgrounds, ride through the streets like in a caravan, not a parade. We aren't inviting people downtown. They would be at their own house going past them, you know. Wouldn't be closing the streets because we can't do any of that thing unless this is lifted by June, mid-June, which is when this is supposed to be. If it is lifted, we would switch it to a parade, but it's not the school, it's me and some other people who are doing it. I've talked to the mayor, I've talked to the fair board, they're fine with it, to give the kids a little recognition. It's really just going to be traffic, but it's going to be like the kids can have their name on a car or whatever, decorate it, whatever they want, whatever they're up to. I think it's going to happen. I've got the permissions for it to happen, but I don't know for sure with the kids yet. So I'm not announcing it because I don't know yet. But you guys should know that it could happen.
Okay, thanks. Okay, approval of abstracts. Everybody get a copy of the abstracts?
Yep. Get a copy of the abstracts. Did we get a copy of the abstract?
Should be in the packet you
It's in the
have.
agenda. The
Just
totals are in the agenda.
Then we approve the abstracts, Armstrong.
Anybody second? Len, you're on. Len, if you're saying anything, you're on mute.
I'll
Was that
second.
second by, okay.
Okay, abstract approval motion was made by Councilman Armstrong and seconded by Councilman Govern. All in favor?
Aye, Armstrong.
I govern.
I would.
That motion is carried. Second part of that is, can I have a motion that would allow me, like we did last month, that would allow me to sign the abstracts?
I have a
I'll make a
motion.
motion.
I'll second it then.
Motion made by Armstrong, seconded by Wood, to allow me to sign the abstracts. All in favor?
Aye, Armstrong.
I govern.
I would.
That motion is carried. Thank you, guys. That's all we have.
I have a couple more questions.
Sorry, that's all we have.
Nice try. When's grievance day? Was that settled?
That's been settled. It's the
Yeah.
Wednesday after the fourth Tuesday. So
Yeah.
Wednesday, the 27th.
May 27th?
Yeah,
Yes,
It's virtual?
I believe they are still working that out.
I was gonna say,
But
I
it-
hadn't heard I haven't heard like what he needs to know. Is it a Zoom meeting? Is it like, you let people in? I don't know how that's gonna
I
work.
believe the assessor has spoke with all the BAR members. I don't know what the outcome of that was.
She talked to them about whether they would be willing to do that. I haven't heard more than that, but that could be because my husband hasn't told me. But last I knew, he didn't know.
I believe that's all settled. Why don't you ask him when you get home?
Okay,
Oh, you are home. Call him over. Get him on the camera.
he's in the garage.
Oh,
There were just a couple. The garbage is overflowing at Vets Plaza again. What is our deal there? Doesn't the village? Don't we have a deal with the village to empty that?
No.
Milt?
Milt has worked with the village employees when Milt is not able to take it out, and Milt has not been
Working.
down there doing it all the time because the county vehicle has been parked because they have been not working.
Right.
So he's not obviously going to put garbage in his vehicle. So no, it is agreement that Milt has. We do not have any sort of agreement with the village for that.
Okay, so what are we going to do about emptying the garbage? And one of the reasons I ask is because there were needles found up at Austin Lincoln again. And I'm worried about people messing near that garbage if in fact that is true there too. And I'm not saying that it is, but I know it has been in the past and stuff. But what do we do about that?
Well, I have periodically, when Rhonda gives me a heads up that it's overflowing, I've taken
You've done
care
it
of
yourself?
myself. And the last time it was taken care of was, but actually the mayor come over and help me too.
I think you
didn't-
did it the last 2 times.
Yeah, I didn't see
I don't
any.
have gloves in my car and I only had my car or I would have done it too. But I see it was overflowing and then that meant that it was also meant that there was stuff on the ground and,
All right, I will, I'll follow up with Milt. We'll develop a plan to tighten that up.
plus we only have one garbage down there still because the other one is, I think, still down at the town sheds because it was broken.
Correct. I believe it was at the village sheds.
Oh, can you look into that, Joe, and get the other one there, and then you wouldn't have to do it as often to begin with.
Yeah, I'll look into that thing. I got the note here, garbage at Vets Plaza. We'll follow up with that.
But the garbage pail too, because there's supposed to be 2 of them there. And that would help.
Yeah.
Because
Didn't we take one out in the winter for the winter
Because it was
months?
broke.
though?
it was
Oh, 'cause
broken
it was broken. All right.
and it needed to be repaired, and apparently went to the village and hasn't come back.
Okay.
There's a trailer going in on Pines Brook that looks like it's only a camper up by Bartlett's. That's not legal, is it?
As a matter of fact, hold on a second. Steve Dutcher. Hold on. I have a letter here. I can't remember the gentleman's name that Steve wrote a letter to the gentleman.
Browning.
It doesn't meet the code requirements to put in a trailer.
what I kind of thought, but
I haven't heard anything on a camper.
the only reason I know this is because the family told me that they were moving out of town to a trailer. And then when I went by it, it's a camper. It's not really a trailer. So that's why I'm questioning it, just maybe to put a bug in Steve's ear. That's why I asked if he was there.
Yeah, Steve has been in contact with the gentleman. And if I had that right in front of me, it might be in the file. I can show you the letter that he sent.
As long as he's aware of it, that's fine. I
Yeah.
became aware of it. I thought I should mention it.
Yeah.
Is off next to a scrapyard? I don't know. There's a lot of cars and stuff there too. There's a terrible bunch of cars up on Oxbow. I didn't know whether he's done anything on those.
I will make that note. When he comes in Wednesday, I'll inquire with him about that.
Okay. I was just going to ask him when I saw him tonight when I saw them. The Breaky property has a big like hole in the middle. Is that flood mitigation?
No, that was intentionally left like that because the requirement wasn't to backfill that because most of that's coming out anyways during the design for the reclamation of the floodplain.
It's going to be straight in the end, or we don't know.
I don't have I believe Graydon's still working on the final design for that. When he gets that, we'll let you know.
I
But
just assumed it might have been for water.
yeah, well, it was more for don't put dirt back in when we have to take it back out anyway. So.
Okay.
Uh,
And the meat packing place, did you get a hold of them? I know you tried.
I sent him another email. He has not responded.
Because that would be a really good thing to have for our local farmers right now when the meat is short.
I know. Steve Dutcher received some information a while ago about the design, and he answered those questions. So I'm not until he answers me. As soon as I do, I'll send him another email tomorrow.
Okay.
I
No,
did
he's not
actually.
good about getting back.
He asked me a while ago to send him a letter of support for his financing.
Right,
And
I remember.
I did send him a letter of support. It's right here, but it came back, the return to sender not deliverable as addressed. So I didn't see any changes on the website of his address, so I'm not sure.
So maybe if you leave another message, say you have that and are trying to get it to him, and maybe then he'd answer you. But
Yeah.
I know it's a crapshoot because the guy doesn't answer.
Yeah.
And my last thing is the letter that we were going to send about manufacturing. Are we going to send it or not?
Well, I was talking about that the other day. What I need to do is I need some guidance here. We need to establish locations of places that we can identify where any type of manufacturing or anything can come in. I do have some places in mind. I want to make contact with the property owners, but I haven't pulled that trigger yet before I send that letter. Because if we send that letter and something comes back, i.e., what locations do you have in mind that would be available? I don't want to jump the gun without identifying those locations first.
I thought we identified the old Agway and the Walton Farm Supply as the places that we were going to say if it came back that we had that we could give them information on. But I mean, they could build a factory somewhere too, in the possibility.
Yes, I agree, but I want to sit down and identify those locations, make sure it's on paper that we, is the old Agway building for sale? Is the old farm supply for sale? I don't know that yet. So once I figure that out and get, affirmative that, yeah, we'd be willing to discuss something, then I'll send that letter out.
Beth O'Brien says yes, that the old Farm Supply is still for sale. And the Agway, I think, is still Griffin's, but there's no for sale sign on it, but I believe it is for sale.
Okay.
But I just think that we need to throw our hat in the ring because I think that that's going to be, and I think that we are going to see more people come this way after this pandemic. I think it's going to be kind of like 9/11 that people move out of the city. I mean, I'm guessing that.
We welcome them.
Well, not everyone, but yes, I agree.
Oh, yeah.
But I
Okay.
do think that as the town board, we should promote ourselves enough that I understand we don't have all of the answers and we don't own the building, so we can't make that. But we can say, hey, here we are, Walton, New York. We have people. We're only 2.5 hours out of the city, and we are an opportunity zone. Hello, look at us. And then it's up to the realtors, which I asked a local realtor. He was not helpful. I will not mention who. I'll bet you can guess.
Yeah.
So, all right.
All right, if there's nothing else, this meeting is adjourned. Oh, wait.
But I think we need to send something.
My last time to speak, and I said that before, but Patty, you had mentioned about the junk cars there on Oxbow and some on Pines Brook. I guess I go back to like with the access agreement. What's good for one is good for all. If you're gonna, most people comply. If one doesn't, and you're gonna go after them, you should go after all of them. I think maybe what you should do, if you're gonna do that, go down that road, go after them. You ought to take a ride up Loomis, but you ought to take a ride up Beersbrook. You ought to take a ride up every road.
I know Beersbrook is bad too.
They are there. You have just opened Pandora's box. If you're gonna do that, and the code enforcement officer is gonna do that, you probably ought to get him some help, or at least up his hours or something, because it is, I see it every day, or I have seen it every day for a lot of years. You haven't even scratched the surface yet. It is,
I thought Offnix really was a junkyard. I mean, I thought it was a license thing.
and I think he does. I know it was a year or two ago, Steve was working with Jeff on that, but I don't know the outcome. I know
And I
that.
don't want to out Jeff, especially, you know, because
And I'm not sticking
I
up.
don't want to do that. But my question is that if we go ask others, we need to know Jeff's status before that, so that Pandora's box doesn't come right at him.
I don't know the answer to that, but I think that's been worked on, and I think it's been taken care of, but I don't know that.
I'm just thinking, you know, maybe it as a general conversation that should happen. I don't want to come down on Jeff, and I think Jeff is okay. Is my thought, because I say that because I've talked to Woody about the Offnick, you know, scrapyard or whatever and stuff. I almost think that he is, but I just have happened to be on these back roads, and there are a lot of them. I know what you're saying, and I'm not a big person to, you know, what you do on your property is kind of your own business, but at the same time, we don't want it to be all junk either. So there's just a balance.
Yeah. And out of the 85 roads, I'm going to say, I don't know, 40 of them have more than one location that is, I guess call it a junkyard. I don't know what to call it. But yeah, it's out there. That's all.
Okay, noted. Okay. This meeting is adjourned. I want to thank you all for attending and getting through the technical difficulties that we had at the beginning. I'm hoping that this will be the last one we have to do virally or virtually, excuse me.
Finally, we'd be in trouble.
Yeah. So again, thank you all, and we'll see you later.
All right.
Good night.